Hello everybody, 大家好. Today we are here in Shenzhen at CAF News Global Conference with Thomas from Meet Magento Association. So let's just please introduce to our audience what you guys do and what is Meet Magento?
That's a long and a short story at the same time. So Magento is one of the most successful e-commerce software systems worldwide. If you look to different markets, so more than 30% of merchants are using Magento as an operation system to run their online shops. And the company started in 2008, 2009, during a time when everyone believed the markets are already red oceans, so everything was done. But Magento came out of the blue and became today the strongest player in the market for e-commerce. And Meet Magento, on the other side, we are an association and we are helping users, this means merchants, at the same time software developers, system integrator companies, to have one voice in front of Magento. At the same time, we help them to meet, to stay together, and to develop the entire ecosystem around Magento. And that's quite important, not in a global scale. We are doing that in every different market in a local way. Today we are doing around 50 conferences, this means 50 different markets worldwide. And even that shows how unique Magento is, because that's the only e-commerce system you can find in every country, localized for the market, except China, by the way. But even if you go to North Korea, you will find North Korean Magento installations. And there's nothing else in the world who can compete against that.
That's very, very interesting. I didn't know about the North Korea. It's a good one. Yes, since you brought it up, first of all, I'm very happy to have you here, and I really think there are quite a few things in common between Meet Magento and CAF News. The sense of community, of working in order to help a group of companies to move forward, basically. And we also we're an international company. I've been participating to a Meet Magento event in Italy before, and I know you guys are literally everywhere in all the most important markets in the world. So since you brought it up, China is such a different market, very complex culturally, linguistically, technologically as well. So what do you think, you're based in Shenzhen, so you know very well the Chinese market. What do you think are the biggest problem for Chinese companies now that want to be competitive and sell and be successful in the world, in foreign markets?
It's always the same story. You have to look after your customer needs. And a customer need is not only a product. You can sell a lot of different products. So customers have expectations. We talk sometimes about the experience to buy something, but at the same time you want to have a good product, you want to have maybe a brand name, you want to get service. So you want to have a lot of stuff around the product you are buying. And if you are not inside the market, you have first to understand the market. And this brings us to the first barrier, it's the language. And that's a problem for non-Chinese companies to go to China, but at the same time for Chinese companies to go abroad. And there's a reason because Alibaba was so successful, because Jack Ma was before an English teacher, and he started with totally different approach to go to that. But he made it easy for manufacturers to do e-commerce, to describe a product, and to be seen, the people can reach you. And it's the same story for a Chinese company if you want to go to Germany. You have to localize your service, your product for the German market. And if you talk about Europe, you see you have so many different languages. You have so many different regulations for tax, legal regulations. And that's a challenge for every company. American companies, they often believe they can bring American lifestyle to every place in the world. That's more the US style. For Chinese companies, it's very, very hard to do that. So what we see is that if you want to enter a local market, you have to understand it, and you need partners in the local market. And you have to build up trust, you have to build up a relationship. And this is not different for a foreign company. It doesn't matter if you come from China, from everywhere else. Chinese companies were not used to that. If you look 30 years back, Western companies went to China to produce something. then we saw that the first manufacturers started to make white label products, OEM products. And then the first companies to start to build their own brands, but they used it in China. And companies started to buy foreign brands from Europe, famous old brands, to label their products. And since 10 years we see that Chinese companies are confident enough and strong enough to develop their own brand worldwide. And huge companies in China have shown it's possible. And that's today the challenge for every small and medium enterprise from China, to think about a brand strategy, to use existing channels, and then just to go ahead.
Very insightful. Thank you very much. Yeah, I agree. I absolutely agree. And I like this evolution, this analysis of the evolution of the industrial scenario in China. And of course, the branding, it's been a topic. We've been discussing it before with other guests. It was brought up on the stage. So for sure, branding will be one of the big words in the next few years, or in the next years here in the Chinese market. And I really liked when you brought on the stage a couple of very insightful topics. You were referring to the trade war, saying that Chinese companies should not only look at the American market, but learn more about all the different global markets, and also that one big marketplace is not enough. Now there is a need all over the world, but probably especially in China, to differentiate more in terms of geographical areas and marketplaces. And do you think this trend will continue, and for how long will continue? And do you already see Chinese company approaching Magento more than before and asking more information about it, as opposed to before?
Yes, that's already happening. And so what we see is that manufacturers are really thinking about to own their supply chain. And if you talk about the supply chain, it's of course logistics, but you're talking about your sourcing, but at the same time you're talking to bring your service, your product to your customer and beyond your customer, to the consumer, wherever else. And Chinese companies are today aware about it, and they have the tools to use it. And they have Chinese tools to use it. If you talk today about ERP systems, where did you find a Chinese ERP system 20 years ago? Today we have major world players for ERP system, Chinese ERP systems. So you can see that a lot of tools around to manage a company, to manage the process are available for Chinese companies. They don't have to copy or just to use a German one or a US one. That's number one. And with those tools, small companies can build up their own supply chain to go forward, and that's happening. And if people go for that, they have to think about how can I sell, and that's B2C and B2B. And Chinese companies are approaching Magento because Magento is localized for all those markets. If you go to Shopify, to e-commerce or BigCommerce, whatever else, to SAP, to Salesforce, they are only strong in a few markets. With Magento, you can go to every market. And therefore, they are going for that. And one other point is, the open source version of Magento is free. Chinese companies want to save money, as everyone wants, and so they are going for that. If you talk about Magento in China, it's a different story. But because it's a perfect tool based on an international scale, more and more Chinese companies are considering to look for Magento to make Chinese e-commerce for Chinese consumers. And we see today around 200 installations, but with Meet Magento we have now already a community around 1,000 Chinese Magento developers who are more and more contributing. And that's, maybe I just can tell that. During Meet Magento Shenzhen a few weeks ago, we had the first meeting to bring together Chinese Magento developers. And they started immediately to localize Magento 2 together for China. And we will see very, very soon an official localized Magento version for China, but not done by Magento Adobe, done by the Chinese community.
So it's a user-generated process. And these numbers are really, really interesting. They really show the perspective. And of course, I agree on the fact that Magento is not really more for serving the Chinese market, but rather for helping Chinese companies to go out. Really, really cool. Last question. we are here in the CF News Global Conference. So, what do you think about this day? What are the main takeaways for you? And what are the main goals and perspectives for this 2019, since we're next to Chinese New Year's?
For me, it was a little bit more a private question, because Meet Magento is about community, to bring people together. And when I came today to this conference, it's in a very unique way done to build community. You see the entire setup, how people are interacting, bringing people together. And this conference have an outstanding mix between people from different industries, from different type of companies, from different markets and nations. And what I really like is the willingness and the openness to communicate, to talk. So what you are doing here with this conference is building up a community. Talk about that. And that's very rare. Only a few people or organizations understand that community is the key, and you're doing that. So for me, it's an excellent conference. I love to see that. And I got some learnings out of that, just to see how you can, also in China, bring people together, and how easy it is to motivate people to connect. That's very great. When you talk about 2019, I don't know. For me, it's 2019 really, it's a closed box, because we don't know what's happening with America first and with China, the trade war. We are seeing Brexit. We are seeing that the economy worldwide is slowing down. And this will have a major impact to countries who are manufacturing, like China, like Germany, like Italy, North Italy. So there will be some impacts, and we cannot predict what's happening. And if you talk to people, so every businessman who have some interest in global activities, they are concerned and they are very careful how to move forward. We are seeing investment are slowing down. Government have to build up trust. We see that a lot of people lost trust in the current structure of the world. Trump destroyed a lot of trust into US. So European countries, European companies are using what are new connections. They are a little bit careful how to move forward with China. That's opportunity. The opportunity is in this time where we don't know what's coming up, just to find new connections, new networks. And that's what I expect for 2019. People will become aware about it, and the smart one will use the opportunity. So not the smart one will start to lose and will be the losers in 2020.
Thank you. It was again very insightful. It makes you think a lot. And the Brexit and the trade war, whatever kind of question you do, you end up talking about that. It's something that everybody thinks about. So thank you very much for your insights on this. And thank you, Thomas, for being here today with us. And see you next time. 再见.
Thank you for having me here.
Thank you.
Pleasure.